We have the people running about today. We have ninjas, we have Darklord with a side of Voiceless voice. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button, and since we don't have a ban list, we're going through the greatest hits we can find this week. This first one is Dark Doriato, or the people running about, the oppressed people, the united resistance, and all of the little ideas and things that you can kind of bring together with it. So all of your earth, water, fire, and wind monsters you control get 200 attack and defense for each different attribute among the monsters you control. It's a pretty straightforward effect here for this. And then, of course, on normal splash, you can choose 4 monsters from your deck. 1 water, earth, fire, wind, and then place them on the top of the deck. Well, first of all, we're not going to try to do crazy things like that, but the fact you can. We are doing the huge revolution is over. So remember, during the main phase, people running about, the oppressed people, and united resistance are all face up on your side of the field. Send all cards in your opponent's hand and to the graveyard and destroy all cards your opponent controls. Actually hilarious that we have this as an actual card. And then this build is also playing Furin Kazin. For those of you that don't know, when there are face-up wind, water, fire, and earth, the 4 elements that compose of the avatar, you can apply one of these effects. You can destroy all monsters your opponent controls, destroy all spell trap cards, discard 2 random cards from your opponent's hand, or draw 2 cards. You know, for this requiring 4 cards on the field, that is not like the craziest effect, you know what I mean? But this is basically old designed Yu-Gi-Oh! So we are playing the Enchanting Fitting Room. Oh, hey, look at that. This is our stacking options that we were talking about earlier with the Doriato here. And then you'll be able to go ahead and beam on out, you know, all of these. And yes, they are playing Jerry Beans Man, and they are playing the little D in here as well. This is actually kind of cool. I see we're also playing Temple of the Kings here. So you can actually, you know, blow out your opponent turn 1 with a huge revolution is over, or, you know, obviously bring it out off of Trap Trick. This is doable. It's not the worst combo deck I have seen in the world, but man, oh man, imagine losing to this. Next up we have ninjas of all things, and let me tell you, I do like the innovations that we do tend to see here with this deck. It's definitely more interesting than not, and I know a lot of people kind of have forgotten about how this deck tends to interact in the format, but one of the big reasons why this thing is being so successful, yeah, that's right, that's triple Dark Samorg. You know, you're forced into playing this build, and definitely having to keep up with the current flow of the format. And this build is only playing 1 copy of the Green Ninja here. We've definitely seen arguments for 2 to 3 Green Ninja. I like either or. I think 2 or 1 is the way to go. Don't try to play 3 of this. Also, this build is only playing 1 Ninjutsu Art of Duplication. I'm not really sure how I feel about this too much. We've definitely seen more of the competitive builds pushing for multiples of this, and to be honest with you, I mean, the card is pretty good, but instead this build's actually opting for a Ninjutsu Art of Mirage Transformation. Lets you tribute a ninja monster, target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, and special summon it to your field. It becomes treated as a ninja, and then actually the monster's effect isn't negated, which is actually pretty cool. Now obviously there's some pretty cool things that you could, you know, be able to grab off of this, you know, for the big things here. But okay, and then I see we are citing the Jutsu Art of Transformation here to be able to bing on into the big old Dark Samorg here. We've seen how stupid Dark Samorg can be. Blonderies have bullied us for years with the potential for this card. Outside of that, I mean, you're just playing a lot of good staple cards here. You have the double mind controls to interact with the opponent. You have Imperm standard hand traps. And this build is also playing Book of Moons in here for some extra little defensive capabilities as well. So overall, not too bad. I like the idea that this build is trying to do. It's nice to see different opinions and different pushes for what you're able to do with a deck like this. So overall, not too bad. Next up here, wow, standard AF heroes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I find it interesting that, you know, with all of these innovations that heroes continue to do, you'll still see, you know, do we need to play D-Force? Do we need to extend out? You know, how many plasmas do we need to be smashing around out here to get the optimized numbers so you can kind of do your thing? And obviously, you've got a pretty wide array of options to choose from, but this is by far, I think, the best meta build that we've seen. You're doing double thrust here. You have your triple tack talents built into the main deck, of course, the triple fusion destiny, the triple hero lives. You are only doing the 1 miracle fusion. Other like real optional note here, We only have one polymerization in the main deck. I have seen some fairly recent builds that are trying to get super cheesy out here, and they're actually trying to play, you know, 2 for some reason, but I think you just stick to this. This build is also playing deck lockdown in here, and we've learned our lesson about how good deck lockdown can actually be in this meta, you know, especially after the hero player goes through the entirety of full combo here, and then they're like, hey, now you can't add anything from your deck to your hand, and you know, if you're playing fire out here, you can't extend through any of these little free combo lines that you normally would be able to. So I think that the presence of this card, granted, yes, you are going to have to hard draw it being a continuous spell, but that's kind of fine. I also see this build is playing double Shining Neo Swingman. I'm not really sure if I'm a huge fan of that, but you do got to consider, you know, how many options and things can we kind of bring to the table for a deck like this. So overall, I think, once again, it's cool to see what hero duelists are trying out here. The ideas, obviously, are going to be there. And, you know, just trying to optimize for the best results is going to be really what you're looking for here. So cool stuff. Next up here, we have, wow, this is actual, like, Dragon Maids with, you know, a little side of Assault Synchron and, you know, obviously like the Red MD package. I guess, to be honest with you, this is kind of what you're going to have to do in order to get Dragon Maids functional out here. You're going to have to take the best parts of Dragon Link, and you are going to kind of have to strip those down and kind of incorporate them in here. And, you know, one of the biggest things you are going to have to play is you are going to have to focus on the Assault Synchron here. I know a 700 burn damage isn't going to be the greatest thing in the world, but, like, being able to deploy a level 8 Synchro or being able to, you know, step on into a Baron, which, I mean, you should be able to off of Excel here, is going to be pretty strong for a deck like this. And also, you know, especially if you're playing this deck as like a more rogue option out there, Lubellion and friends is still going to be able to do some of the craziest stuff. And let's not forget, you know, even though Branded Regained has not seen a huge crazy amount of play right now, you do need to be fully aware that these 2 cards still provide some of the best toxic interactions that you want to see. So if you're looking at playing some Dragon Maids in the current modern era, I do recommend something like this. The extension options for the Assault Synchron to actually put threatening monsters on the field or inherently make Dissipator to be able to maintain that presence on the field is actually quite important. And we've seen the options that you can do with this. Also, we are only doing the one Dragon Maid changeover. If your opponent does actually have the DD Crow when you actually drop this on the field, and they actually crow it, well, I'm absolutely sorry, but like, you're not trying to play multiple changeovers, especially when this is inherently searchable for you anyway, and you can still do it multiple times per turn. It's just, you know, for the secondary return effect. So kind of think about that. But outside of that, I think this is actually pretty cool to actually see. Cool stuff. And our last build here is Darklords with Voiceless Voice, actually. I hadn't really considered, you know, trying out this particular option tree with this, you know. Voiceless Voice being able to, you know, free recruit for, you know, Skull Guardian friends and be able to do the ritual stuff that you're very used to seeing in the inherent package is actually pretty good. But being able to toss this Darklord stuff in here and generate some advantage is actually pretty good, much as the water strikes on the outside here as we hear it. I do think that the Voiceless Voice deck idea for this is actually pretty cool, especially for Superbia and X-Chill here, kind of giving you those options that you want. And don't underestimate the ability to be able to go through these full Darklord lines here, just so you can kind of do your standardized lines of play. I think it's one of the things that makes this deck actually kind of interesting for some consideration out here. So if you are trying to play something a little bit more fun, or you just want to have some Voiceless Voice interactions, just try something a little bit different. You know, maybe you didn't want to try the Necroz engine or things like that, give this a shot. I think this will probably give you some very fun options. And as the earth shakes on the outside here, I do ask you guys, please leave a comment down below. We're still waiting for some sort of possible ban list to come out here, and I know most of us are fatigued with the meta, but we're looking for the best absolute options that we can find to kind of keep us a little bit busy as we continue to wait for, well, those real changes in the meta. Well, you guys have a good rest of your day, and stay absolutely safe out there, all right? patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.